produce one student, that is the Federal University of Technology in Akure or the one in Mina, can produce one student that can innovate to the extent that we can have a Facebook founder in this country that will be ruling the world.
How will you persuade the National Assembly to cut down on
the National Assembly, going to their own case, there is no way we can accept an illegality. The allowances they are paying themselves, according to even the laws of the land, are illegal. They are not entitled to more than 1 million naira or thereabouts in allowances. So the mere fact that somebody has taken over the lunatic asylum and is awarding themselves what they like, doesn't mean that it is legal. We can challenge it.
Yep.
We have a court in this land which we can challenge and see how much are they entitled to, how much should they be collecting. If we cannot get them to drop it, the country might as well drop them.
Okay.
That's the truth.
Now let me quickly, because the time is limited, Dr. Rufai, security.
Okay.
Nigeria is facing multiple challenges on the area of security. We're fighting an insurgency in the northeast, Boko Haram. We have bandits and rustlers in the northwest. We have a little bit of issues with farmers and herders in the north central part of Nigeria. There's still a bit of restiveness in the east with organizations like IPOP talking about breaking away and forming Biafra. What are your plans for securing Nigeria?
Well, you actually highlighted the fact that we are dealing with hybrids of criminal elements here and there, from Boko Haram in the northeast and then down to the Niger Delta and the agitation of the IPOPs and co. You realize that they have something in common, all of them, meaning there's some sort of complacency at the center, where the generals, the police at the helm of our security have not been actually doing very well to what they are assigned to do. And then if you now unpack other security challenges like the herders and the farmers clash has its own uniqueness in some ways. So you really have to break down what sort of security challenge is and then to actually develop an innovative solution towards it. But the first is actually to know that Nigeria will do better, we will live in peace and progress when we don't condone anybody's crime because he belongs to certain tribe, creed, religion, or anything. We really have to have a way of bringing people accountable to their crimes, whoever they are. If you take the farmers' hardest clash, well, we only have to reflect on what is happening in the Sahel. They have always found themselves in the middle of the desert. They don't have water bodies and so on, but they still produce, they're economically prosperous to some extent. No killing like the scale we have in Nigeria. So you realize in Nigeria, for us to solve the problems of herders and cattle, we need to actually change the way we do agriculture. We need to adapt to the climate change and the issues around it. And then, of course, last time, I'm sure you saw the video if you did your homework well. The Fulanis you met in Taraba and Jalingo were asking Shore, when are we going to have schools for our kids? When are we going to have a better system to take care of our cattle? We're tired of being killed and so on. Then he said, well, it's the commercial ranching, which has the potential actually for these herders to actually access animal sciences product, meaning the way they could propagate faster and better, they can graze, and then, of course, to get veterinary care from the government at some people, and then some PPP with interested people. Actually, we can actually have commercial ranching. These are likely to fatten their cows to produce more, create a value chain along that can feed us with milk, and there you have more prosperity. Agree, we don't have dams, infrastructure are very few.
I am so sorry to keep doing this to you, but that is exactly what this government is proposing.
What?
Ranching.
Oh,
so the government
but have they tackled the adaptation of the climate change? They didn't mention it clearly.
I'm just pointing out.
The government is proposing grazing corridors and cattle colonies.
And
they are
ranches.
different from commercial ranches.
And ranches.
No, I'm not aware. I mean, no, look, you had a hectic time interviewing the president and the DP at that time. So maybe there's a problem of understanding of what it meant, We went through that, yeah. So what they are saying is that they want grazing corridors, they want cattle colonies. We are proposing commercial ranching, in which case somebody can own a ranch. There are 20 million cows roaming around in Nigeria. And you find out that because they're even roaming around in ways that are not productive, they hardly can produce milk, and most of them are suffering malnutrition. If you keep them in a ranch, they will be fat cows. You know, and anybody can go into the business because the cow meat business is a $3 billion industry. You know, that we have not tapped into. But beyond that, there are droppings. The cow dung can also be used for biogas, from which we can generate over 1,000 megawatts of electricity. So this is what innovative leadership is about, not these analog leaders who are talking about the past. You asked the president here last week, with due respect, about how to solve the... He never mentioned commercial ranch. I watched him.
The VP did.
Yeah, no, that's why I'm saying what the VP knows about Nigeria and what the president knows, they are two different... You know, me and him... Yes, it's true. Going by what we saw here last week, there is a miscommunication between the VP and the president. So it's a bifurcated presidency, but our own will be one. Yes.
Boko Haram.
Yeah?
Boko Haram.
Yes.
What is your solution?
Solution to Boko Haram is direct. Every 10 years, any local insurgency of any kind must be defeated by a country. They usually last the gestation period of insurgencies of that nature. But the problem with Boko Haram was that the moment it transmuted from being a crisis to a business, there was no way it was going to end. As a reporter, I was the first person who was reporting that army generals were not buying equipment, they were not paying their soldiers who were in the front lines. And I was derided for it, that it was because I didn't want the other party to win. Eventually, how many of the generals were arrested, prosecuted in the army, in the navy, in the air force? But you know what? When they got to the army, the record of the prosecution disappeared.
Okay, so
because
if
of
you
the people
become
who are in this
president,
government who are
will you arrest and prosecute army generals?
Absolutely. You know, I have said not only will I do that, any army general that has been involved in fighting the Boko Haram insurgency will be asked to leave peacefully the armed forces, because that is not a general that can win a war. But when you keep them around, the president said it, I think it's on Arise TV, that he realized that some of the army commanders have overstayed their usefulness. But today,
so
he has not fired them. He has not relieved them of their responsibility.
Under a Showore president, we'll see a purge of the army,
Oh,
taking out the top people.
That is something that you do from time to time. It's natural with people who are, you know, sometimes even without corruption, fatigue sets in. What we have found out in the armed forces, instead of allowing the younger, well-trained officers to take over command positions, the older ones, the corrupt, you know, big fat ones don't leave, even though they don't leave Abuja, but they have refused to allow promotion of people who have been trained because they don't want them to become progress, they don't want them to make progress within the armed forces. And these are the guys that are willing to wipe out these guys. But the ones that are making money off of it, they don't want the Boko Haram insurgency to end.
Okay, I will take two quick questions on security, just to wrap up this section. Okay, so the gentleman here in the black suit with the blue shirt, please, sir, go to the mic. And then the gentleman right at the back. Yes, sir, just come. Because we've literally got 5 minutes. You need to be quick.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Showore. Because of time, I want you to tell Nigerians how differently will you want to fight corruption, because that has not been tackled on this podium. Okay. That is a reminiscence. Then two.
No.
Housing.
Sir, no, sir, no. So please,
housing.
Could you have respect for people, please? There's 5 minutes to go, sir. So how would you tackle?
My name is Caleb Terinyikwa. I'm the gubernatorial candidate on the platform of African Action Congress in Benue State. And over this question get thrown to me, the issue of herdsmen and farmers' clashes.
Yes.
And the VP answered a part of it. But the issue is that even in commercial ranching, you need the people to give the land. The problem down there is that people are not ready to give the land, because there is now a tussle, an emotional and cultural clash between these two people, forcing them to give out the land for commercial. They perceive it as you are trying to force them to be defeated in the war.
Okay.
So it's an emotional issue. So how do you tackle that? Thank you.
Okay, and I'm going to add a final question, and if we could end on that, then we'll go. You were quoted as saying at an event that you want to legalize marijuana and make it a commodity that can generate money. I'd like to understand what you said, whether you were quoted correctly, whether it's a question of legalizing it for use domestically as well, or whether it's going to be legalized just as a business for export. And you've got literally a minute.
I'll answer that first because I know it's very important. We are legalizing it for export. There's a huge market out there for cannabis. The one that we grow in Nigeria is called cannabis sativa. It has a lot of medicinal use. And the only part of marijuana that people worry about is the part that has THC, And there's a marijuana that can be grown that will not even contain that. Marijuana or the hemp tree can also be used in place of cotton.
So you're not looking to allow Nigerian youth to be smoking anyhow?
Already, anybody that wants marijuana in Nigeria can get it. I don't have to worry about them. And I'm telling you, it's available anywhere you turn in this country. Marijuana has always been available. People deceive themselves. What I'm saying is that we have NDLA burning 1.5 trillion naira worth of marijuana every year. Canada is in need of it. Let's pack it and send it to them. The US is in need of them. And we can and that can help us diversify our economy, by the way. The people of Ondo State can get $4 billion from marijuana in a year, Edo State, and that triangle, the marijuana triangle of Delta, Edo.
Are you worried at all that because you end up with a business in weed, you may end up with a situation where in many ways you are enabling a bigger population to use marijuana? Is that a concern at all?
No, it's not a concern because the medicinal value of marijuana. Do
you smoke?
No, I've never smoked marijuana before. Never.
But let me let
you keep talking about
in fact, I've never smoked before. I've never smoked before.
I have to come in here. We are aware of the use of illicit drugs in this country, and it's a big epidemic over the last couple of years. But the government of President Muhammadu Buhari didn't do much in that direction, because a report came in 2014 that there was never a time in history when these illicit drugs became cheaper, more available, and in their purest form than that. But the government did nothing in terms of prevention, actually, or enforcing, actually, children and other measures. Then a video came up from BBC as a documentary.
You really have very little time.
And that actually made the Nigerian government to have a knee-jerk reaction. They banned the importation of codeine, I guess, and that created a balloon effect. Now people are sniffing gutters, are doing all that. So the best is actually to tackle the problem head on from different angles.
The corruption question for corruption is really important. What are you going to do different from what's happening now?
And we don't have time with the use of preventive measures. We talk about even paying people living wage so that they don't start thinking about stealing for the future. There's need for enforcement, but most importantly, because corruption is carried out by the highest people in this country, they are the ones who are the most corrupt. There has to be consequences, for people to know that it is not all right to be corrupt and get a chieftaincy title or sit in front of the judge.
You will need the judiciary. There are issues that we have heard.
So the enforcement will help us even in the judiciary. Look, Nigeria has been playing around with corruption for a long time, but as an individual, I had been fighting corruption for the last 12 years on Sahara Reporters alone. The Chief Justice of Nigeria that is under trial, and I was the first person on Sahara Reporters to put out his account, saying that he has money that he can't even explain. Do you know what happened when I did it? The EFCC issued a statement that I was lying. Now, when it is politically expedient, he's undergoing trial. So, you know what it is. So, herdsmen clash, I wanted to say about land. There is enough land in Nigeria that you don't have to force anybody to give you land to do commercial ranching. Why we call it commercial ranching is that if you give up your land, you are protected by law so that nobody takes it from you, Listen, the Redeemed Church, every year, they slaughter over 20,000 cows when they have the Holy Ghost thing that they do, Congress that they do. They can have their own ranch. I make fun of the people in the Southwest. If they kill a cow in the Southwest, only the blood will be left. They eat every part of it, but there's no ranch. But when Awolowo was around, he created a ranch in Akuno. The Calabar ranch that is there today, that is being used for tourism, used to be a cattle ranch.
Okay,
so
let
it's
me ask
nothing new. We've had
a
ranches.
final question on that before we go away. Are you at all concerned about the people whose way of life you would be disrupting, who are also Nigerian citizens? So the Fulanis that are used to grazing.
Yeah.
What are the plans for them? Because once you sort of take away that it's a way of life.
We are not taking away their way of life. Okay. I am doing this based on my conversation with a Fulani man or a number of Fulani people who have said that they will be comfortable raising their cows in a ranch. And the reason why the Fulani man is walking around with 400 cows and his children and his wife is because he wants to make money. Yeah. Not because he wants to be lean. If they want to be lean, they can go to do marathons for us at the Olympics. But it's about money and it's about innovation. A Fulani man can be in a ranch and still be walking around in the ranch on the back of a horse. And you would love to see him. They will even become a touristic center where you can go and see the new Fulani man and his ranch and his cattle.
You're aware that in the Mambila Plateau, for example, ranches exist.
Yes.
And yet, these issues that we've had are still ongoing. You've got clashes between Fulani ranch owners and Mambila farmers, leading to hundreds of deaths. And these clashes happen, they die down, they happen historically. Suggesting that perhaps the problem isn't that of people not being in ranches. What are your thoughts on this?
No. So how many ranches do we have? And we have also discussed the issue of climate change. Yeah. You have a huge expanse of land also in what used to be Sambisa Forest and beyond, and the Lake Chad region that has been taken over by terrorists that you are not taking back from them. Our own position is that there will be a holistic solution that, we drive Boko Haram out of the place. It frees up the land, almost the size of the state of Virginia in the U.S. The people who want to go back to Sambisa Forest, for example, may not need ranch because the place is available for free for you to graze. But I'm saying that you can duplicate ranches that is not only in the Mambila area. And the reason why the issue of Mambila is different is that people are looking at it from who is superior to who. And this is where you start to talk about the security agencies at the top and how people view them when they intervene when there's a clash. When you see a minister of defense acting as if he's on the side of one side against the other, you have a problem.
Sadly, we've run out of time. And I have to leave it here. Thank you so much, Mr. Showore.
Thank you.
And Mr.
Hope you will be there on our inauguration.
Yes, and I've been reminded there's a final important question, and I need a short answer. If you lose, will you accept the results of the elections?
If the elections are free and fair, there's no way we can lose.
Definitely.
Thank you again.
Thank you very much.
The next edition of The Candidates will take place, God willing, in exactly 7 days from 8 to 10 p.m. It will be a live show once more, and we'll be talking to the presidential and vice presidential candidates of the People's Democratic Party, the PDP. That's Nigeria's former vice president, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, and the former governor of Anambra State, Mr. Peter Obi. Until then, we wish you a very good evening.
Like say they want to tell us another story again, yo. Now so, say people they say are the superstar. But for me, the real superstars are those people where they go vote.